Probably the most useful movable 7th chord shape that we can play is the C7 shape. If you haven't played it before, it's a C chord plus the 3rd string 3rd fret. Now there are a number of reasons why that's so useful. The first is very simply that it can give us an alternating bass. The main bass note is the 5th string, but we can alternate it with the 6th string at the 3rd fret just by moving that ring finger backwards and forwards. And we can get some good grooves on a 7th chord going just with that alternating bass. Works just as well, of course, for finger picking. But I said it's a movable shape, and this is what makes it particularly useful. If we move this shape to different positions on the neck, it becomes not a C7 chord, but another type of 7th chord. For example, at frets 3, 4 and 5, it's a D7 chord, as long as, here's an important point, as long as we're careful to mute the 1st string, which I do just by easing the index finger down a tiny bit, enough to mute that 1st string. Once you do that, what we've got are 4 strings, strings 5, 4, 3 and 2, that are all fretted. So as we move that shape around and just play those 4 strings, we're not trailing any open strings behind us, so we can move this shape and it becomes a new 7th chord at every position. Here it's D7. Again, the alternating bass works. We bring it up 2 more frets, we've got an E7 chord shape, and this is a very common way to play an E7 chord because now you can introduce the 6th string, which is the note E, and of course the 1st string, which is the note E. So it's regularly played in this position, E7, and of course now either play the 5th string and alternate the bass, or take advantage of the open 6th string. So these are all substitutes for common position shapes. So your C7 was the first one we looked at, that's a normal way to play C7. But if we brought it up 2 frets and muted the 1st string, it became D7. And it's an alternative way to playing the D7 that you're probably familiar with. And at frets 5, 6 and 7 it's E7. It's an alternative to the E7 that you're familiar with playing probably whichever way you play it in the 1st position. Now those are the most common uses of it, C7, D7, E7, but the important thing to understand is that it exists as a chord at every fret as long as we just play these 4 middle strings. That can be useful for substituting for some chords that you might see on a song sheet that look quite complicated. For example, if it's C7 in the 1st position, up at frets 2, 3 and 4 it's C sharp 7. C sharp 7 you might normally play as a bar chord, but here it is out of the C7 shape. C7 at fret 2, then D7 as we said, D sharp 7 at frets 4, 5 and 6. E7 of course we said, F7 at frets 6, 7 and 8. Also useful because it can be one of the more unpleasant bar chords to have to play in the 1st position, so here's another way to do it. Whoops, don't play the 1st string. There's your F7. F sharp 7 at frets 7, 8 and 9. G7 at 8, 9 and 10. Alternative to this one. And then we'll go through these quickly. G sharp 7. A7 at 10, 11 and 12. There's an interesting, if rarely used but legitimate alternative to A7. And finally A sharp 7 or B flat 7. And of course B7, but rarely played up that high, but it does technically exist. I want to show you while we're playing with this shape is what happens if we refinger it so that we're playing with the index finger on the 4th string, 1st fret, middle finger on the 5th string, 2nd fret, ring finger on the 3rd string, 2nd fret. Now you know that if we add the 1st string at the 2nd fret, we've got a B7 chord, right? Now, if we add the second string at the 3rd fret to this chord, and again don't play the 1st string, we've got a chord that sounds very exotic. It's a 7 sharp 9 chord, but it's one of the greatest bluesy chords classically used. So B7 can be B7 sharp 9 by adding that second string 3rd fret, and now again, as long as we're only playing these four strings, it's movable. So up one more fret, it's C7 sharp 9, a substitute for C7. Let's just skip to the important ones. D7 sharp 9 up at frets 4, 5 and 6. Now it's a substitute for D7. Let's imagine you're playing a groove that's going perhaps between A and D7. There we are in the 1st position. But what if we want to try this D7 sharp 9 shape? We can go A to this chord shape. It's very, very bluesy. That particular progression would be better if it was A7 to D7 sharp 9. Okay, that's all I wanted to show you. Just bear in mind that this shape, of course, is movable in the same way. So D7, D sharp 7, E7, F7, these are all sharp 9 chords and so on. Moving up and down the neck in the same way and giving you this extra, very, very bluesy sound.